Now, what are we going to get into today? You might be thinking, well, we're going to get rid of this naked bird back here. We've been working on getting all that old EDP coating off the panels, looking for rust, trying to kind of blemishes, but surprisingly, no rust this time. But I still don't like that EDP coating as the foundation for my exterior bodywork. Well, the flip side is I can't leave this bare steel. It will rust. And what's the best way to seal this up that I have found so far today? That's what we're going to share with you here today. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about bare metal, what you can put on. You'll see direct to metal DTM primers and paints. That's meant to go over top of actually bare steel. Now, what I have learned over the years reading trial and error and what I've seen other people doing, there's two basic real popular types. It used to be self-etching primer, which is an acid etch, which digs into the paint and bonds really great to the surface. It has its negative properties. The more popular now is epoxy primer, two-part catalyzed, put it on properly prepped metal, and it'll bond just as good, but also give you a waterproof protection. Most of it, or I understand, of self-etching primers, not waterproof. They will definitely bond to the metal good, be a great foundation, but they don't block out moisture. And you know that's not so great when you got bare steel. That's the biggest thing we're trying to combat, corrosion and rust. Now, this car is not going to see salty, crappy winter roads probably ever again in its entire life. So we've got that going for us. So we still want the best quality or best foundation we can come up with. And I really like epoxy primers. Now, I don't know what you guys and gals out there, what you've been using, but let me know in the comments. Which do you prefer, the old epoxy or self-etching? Now, the other thing about self-etching primer, acid-based primers, you cannot put epoxy on top. They just don't like each other. They're not friends. So don't use self-etching primer, then try to use epoxy. It will not work out so well for you. Now, let's talk about the metal prep. I DA'd this car, dual action sander, electric one. Worked out phenomenally. 80 grit, the whole thing. Came out really good. Since it's all new metal and pretty clean, I'm feeling pretty confident we're going to be fine. But if you just had it media blasted, blow off the dust, get it clean as you can, go ahead and start painting it. Bare steel that's been sanded technically really should be acid bath, washed and cleaned up, then neutralized and painted. I've never been successful at that. I'm not very good. I've even watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to do it, but I ended up flash rusting the panels and making them worse. So I guess I'll lay the cards on the table. I ain't figured it out yet, so I don't do it. I'd rather just roll the dice and put my epoxy on. Now, I've done cars like this. That old Le Mans, the 69 GTO recoat that I had for 20 some years, sat outside for 7 years of its life. I painted it this way, same thing, sanded it all down, wiped it off, degreased it, put the epoxy on, put the paint on it, and I had no rust problems out of that car. It looked great. The paint was still adhering to it very well. And remember, it spent half those 20 years outside the garage. You check out some of my old videos, see that orange thing sitting outside while I'm working on other cars. It got covered with overspray and everything else, but that paint still shined up nice. Some PPG stuff. But anyway, I'm not going to get on the soapbox about that. What I'm going to use is TranStar Black Epoxy Primer, so it's going to almost look like that EDP coating when it's all said and done. But the next step here is I got everything kind of masked off, and everything ready to go here in the garage. Any place you don't want paint, you better cover it up because this stuff's going to go everywhere. The other problem is you see that garage door is shut. We've been dealing with single digits and negatives now for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Today, it warmed up to 40 degrees, so I actually started the heater there in the back corner of the garage up there. I've had it on for several hours. I need to get this metal up to about 60 degrees or warmer. I'm just about there. So I'm going to try to get the main car body shell and epoxy. Then I'll come back and do the fenders that we don't see in the hood. I got some more prep work yet to do on those, but I don't want to leave this bare steel, especially my temperatures are going to come up. My humidity is going to come up and I'm going to rust. So enough of this. I want to share a little bit of the information. Now let's get to mixing some paint and putting some paint back on the old bird. And what we're using today here is TranStar. It says they're black 6161 epoxy primer. I'm going to mix it 1-to-1 with the catalyst. And don't cut it with any kind of acetone because this is our base coat. I'm not using it as a sealer, but I'm going to use it as our base coat. Works out pretty good. Doesn't sand as well as I'd like to, so I've got some other ideas in my head. I may change brands, that SPI stuff. I've been reading and getting some good feedback on it. It sands a lot better. But what I was going to say though, whatever brand you end up using, read the paint data sheet. Some of this epoxy primer has an incubation or a time for the catalyst to actually react in the paint before you spray it. Sometimes you got to mix it up and let it sit in a cup for 20 to 30 minutes before you pull the trigger. This, however, does not. So we're going to go ahead and mix them up anyway, let it sit. We're going to wipe this car down in preparation to get it all painted up. Now I'm going to do a 1-to-1 mix. I'm only going to make up, I don't know, about 200 milliliters of paint. It's probably going to go a long ways, I hope. But again, this is mixed 1-to-1, primer, catalyst. Let it mix up, and we're going to let it sit for a little bit. This one doesn't require the incubation period, but we're going to give a little time to settle up there in the paint cup. Changing mine, 150, so we're gonna make 300. All right. Now I have no idea how much I actually really need. I just kind of go by my gut feel and I kind of wing it. Seems to work out pretty good for me so far. Okay. Now, give that a gentle mix and we're good. There, before we spray that on here, I'll wipe this down one last time. I've cleaned it once, but it's a garage. It has its issues. It's dirty. I'm still kind of covered with dust from moving around out here in the garage. So I'm just going to quick little wipe on, wipe off kind of thing. And we'll see how much crud comes off here. Car. Not bad. You see a little residue forming on here, but I'm going to wipe off any area I plan to paint, so I'm going to work on doing that. Now it's all wiped down. Do not touch that thing. Don't get your greasy mitts all over that because it will cause the paint maybe not to adhere, cause bubbles in your finish. So now that's all wiped down, let's talk about paint guns. What I've used for a long time. This is my Mac Tools SG1300 Econo Coat gun. I've had this thing probably longer than I think a couple of my kids have been alive. It's been a great gun, but it's getting kind of the point where I maybe do some for replacement. But I use a 1.4 tip on the epoxy primer. High build primers, I bump it up depending on which one it is, almost like a 2.0 tip. But I have another paint gun for that. But I might be getting one of those Black Widow guns from the old Harbor's Freight. Everyone says pros and cons about everything, but I've read enough, seen enough, I think I'm kind of interested. But again, if you guys have used any of those Black Widow high transfer efficiency HTE guns, let me know. I'm kind of on the fence about getting one of those and giving it a whirl, but nonetheless, this is all set up. I run a little inline blast catch filter here. I have a moisture separator by my compressor. I have a 60-gallon, I think it's 5 or 7 horse, 220 volt. It's been great, doing good. Keeps up what my demand is for air. It seems to work all right for what I've been doing. Then I have a water separator that I bought from Harbor Freight, give or take. But I like my buddy there at the Lake and Lodge Garage, Mike. He made a nice little cooler out of a transmission cooler to help separate the moisture before it even gets in the tank. Check out his video sometime. If I can figure out, put a link on mine, I will. But I don't want you guys to go away and not come back, but it's a pretty cool video. Yeah, it's pretty inexpensive, way cheaper than a line dryer. So enough of that. I'm gonna put some paint on here, then I'm gonna put it on that. And that brings up another point. This stuff is not good for you. Epoxy primer, any paint actually, is not good to inhale. A nice respirator is a must. Something there to keep in mind because this stuff's just not good. And the other thing is, let's talk about spray patterns. Once I get all masked up and start doing it, you're not gonna be able to hear me. You're not gonna understand a word that I'm saying. Or maybe you don't want to hear me. That could be the truth too. But either way, when I start painting this, I'm gonna do all the kind of the edges. Then I'm gonna come back and go, I just want to paint. I'm gonna do the door first, then the quarter panel, and I'm just gonna do continuous pass front to back on that panel, a little bit of overlap between the two. Won't hurt anything. My goal is one medium coat. I don't want to like build up a whole lot of paint. I'm just wanting to seal up the metal so I can proceed to my body working. But you'll see a pass, and then about a 50% overlap, and then come back the other way. And just keep going back and forth until I get the whole thing covered, hopefully here successfully. But that's where we get it masked up now and put some paint on. Got the entire body shell covered with one coat. Went on okay, but I've learned something. This is the first time I've attempted to paint when it's this cold. Yes, the metal was up to 60 degrees, the paint was warm, but it don't flow quite as good. I'm used to spraying in temperatures, 70s and 80s. So I guess what I'm gonna say is it went on. I'm not gonna worry about rust anymore, but it didn't lay down as smooth as I would have anticipated. Just didn't want to flow. I have a suspicion that it's because cold. Let me show you where we're at. Now, at first glance, looks pretty good. Got good coverage. Don't have to worry about rust anymore. But if you get a little closer to the paint, you'll see it looks a little bit textured. It didn't flow out quite as well as I would have anticipated. But at least at this point, I don't have to worry about flash rusting anymore. Got clear down here to the rocker panels, all squared away and done, looking pretty good. Now, the thing about painting it all this black, it has a little bit of a reflection to it. I'm seeing a lot more blemishes in the metal that I didn't necessarily catch with the naked eye when it's sanded, but you really can't see them. But if I move back and forth, watch the ripple there on the garage door. You'll see it kind of wavy. So I've got a little bit of work to do, but that's all right. I guess we'll get it squared away. Got this all painted up. Put a bunch of paint down here in the trunk gutter for the weather stripping. I did get a run right about there, so I goobered that up a little bit. I just couldn't get the stuff to flow. So FYI, when it's this cold, I guess if you have to, paint it. But if I had my choice, I think I'll wait for warmer weather next time. So there you have a little bit of epoxy priming all done here on the Lamborghini. Still have the hood, got the fenders, got the cowling, and I got the lower valance yet to do. The trunk lid somewhere hiding out here. Need to get those sealed up. Got them all meaty blasted and prepped and ready to paint. I just got to paint them. I thought I probably could have painted them over here while I was doing it today, but I was afraid it wasn't going to dry. I wouldn't be able to be able to put back over there. So I figured at this point, whatever, just a lot of crazy ideas. I can move this thing outside now. That might be kind of fun. It does run and drive. I have yet to actually move it under its own power, but kind of save that for my dad. I got some sandbags for him to sit on, so I may have him back it out. He's going to be here a couple days from now. We're going to try to paint up the rest of these pieces and get them prepped. I'm going to put the paint gun maybe in his hand and see what he can do. Maybe he can do more gooder than I did. But I'm thinking what the next go around here, these have the epoxy primer has a window of top coat or be able to paint again without doing anything to the surface. Some's like 24, 48 hours, some maybe like a week. I don't know. I need to look on the paint data sheet on this stuff here. I am debating going ahead and just going and put the high build primer on, which is kind of a yellowish color. That way I can put one coat on, and if I start doing some sanding, and if I see the black popping through, I know to stop sanding, because I don't want to cut through my sealer, or I don't call it sealer, maybe it's my epoxy coat. That's what's going to protect my car from rust. That's my foundation for everything. My body work, my body filler, high build primers, everything's going to sit on top of this. I don't want to cut back through this black primer. That is what's going to keep this car or slow the rusting down extremely. So nonetheless, that part is done. I learned a little something today. The cold affects the paint a lot more than I thought, and I hope that helps you out in making a decision when to paint your car. Trying to make things happen in a little tiny 2-car garage like I've been doing here for quite some time. I think this is car number 5 I've completed. If you've not seen the other cars, go back and check out the videos. Have some great success putting these cars back together. This isn't the first go around for me, but this is the first time I've struggled with the temperature. I'm a little out of season, a little out of whack on building this car compared to where I'm normally at. So nonetheless, we got that taken care of. I'll get the camera out here maybe when Dad's doing some painting, learn him something, or maybe he's going to learn me something just the same. And hope to see you all then.